Hey, welcome to the No Life Kings podcast. I'm Draves.
And I'm Case.
And coming to you in issue 34, to kick off 2021, we've got a smattering of news stories that we're going to bring you. And then Draves and Case are going to predict the future.
Also, did you realize that in Wonder Woman 84, they freaking had the nerd character be like, oh, no one likes me because I'm a nerd and incapable. And then once I wish to be Wonder Woman, now that I can wear heels and dress better, now everyone wants to be my friends. And I'm going to take my glasses off because, glasses make me ugly. Also, he stole someone's body and then they had sex with that other body. So that seems just wrong that they stole this guy's body and then had sex.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Right? And then later, she flirts with the dude that she's already had sex with.
So, moving on, we have some news from the MCU. So just kicking this off. There is no kicking this off after that. We have to address that for a second. By the way, that's a joke from the last episode where Case went on a rant and there were a bunch of alsos. So
I haven't stopped yet.
For anybody who didn't listen to that, I highly recommend you listen to that. It's a good rant. Now,
it's not a rant, it's facts. I told you this already.
Those are very good facts that Case lays down for people. Now, kicking off news from the MCU. We've got some news about the Sif character from Thor. Case?
For those who don't know Sif, she was the warrior, one of the warriors that helped Thor in his earlier battles in the first Thor. I think the first Thor was called Thor. I'm going to say Thor again. Thor. So Jamie Alexander plays Sif, and she kind of vanished from the Thor movies. And people were kind of like, why? Because she's pretty cool. The rumors are that she's going to be appearing in Thor, Love and Thunder. And also, there's a hint that she might show up in the Loki series. So I think it'd be kind of cool to have Sif because, it'd be nice to have some other Asgards involved in the MCU other than just Thor. Is Thor stronger than all the Asgards, or all Asgards the same strength as Thor, but he's just a prince?
Unclear.
Well, I guess he has the hammer, right? And that gives him power. Well, then later he has the power inside him all along. The power of love was inside him all along. So maybe he's a son of Odin. He's a god.
But then all of a sudden he needs Stormbreaker in
Infinity War.
But maybe that's because he was Fat Thor. Maybe Fat Thor is less powerful. Like Fat Thor, like the...
Well, he got the Stormbreaker in Infinity War when he was still skinny Thor.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. He was skinny Thor.
Yeah, remember? And then he threw the axe at his arm instead of cutting off his head.
Yeah.
The one thing my headcanon on this, which maybe it's actually truth, I don't even know his headcanon, is yes, he still has the power inside him, but he uses Stormbreaker and Mjolnir to focus his power. Otherwise, a little more chaotic and less controlled.
I also do like that in Thor Ragnarok. Like, oh, he's like, what are you the god of? And like, he gets this this power surge.
Yeah.
And then he hits Hela with this complete lightning, but it really does nothing to her, right? Like, it wasn't really a very useful sort of moment.
There's some... All right, so actually, we're going to be talking about this in a second, and I'll just spoil it, but the other big news thing was they announced the Marvel Studios Legends series, which is basically going to be revisiting his most iconic moments in MCU to help you catch up on what you might have forgotten about the MCU for the TV series. So they're having 2 of these come out in January, focused on Wanda and Vision for WandaVision. Anyway, the reason I bring that up too is that some of the most iconic moments, I would say, like in my mind, is you have the Captain America standoff with Thanos, right? Scene right before they say, on your left. But when Thor gets his superpower in Thor Ragnarok at the end, and he does that jump at the bad guys on the bridge, and it's like lightning's crackling down at them when he's going to slam down the hammer, and the music starts playing, and this looks like a cover of like some heavy metal band's like record album. And I say record because I'm an old person apparently. That to me, like when I think Thor Ragnarok, that image always appears in my head of this like masses being destroyed by Thor.
Yeah.
And there's this like that which is why it's read me in the Marvel Studios Legends. So like I said, they're gonna do some of these iconic moments of Wanda and Vision. I don't even know any iconic moments for Wanda and Vision. What do you think is an iconic moment for those two?
For Wanda, I always think of that when they're in Scotland at the beginning of
Civil War.
Infinity. Is it Civil War or Infinity War?
Oh, it might be Infinity War. You're right. Because that's when Captain America.
No. It's Civil War. It's Civil War, right? Because
No, it's right. I think it's right after Civil War because Captain America's on the run still and has the beard.
Oh yeah,
Or
for
no,
sure.
wait. Or maybe it is. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's Infinity War. Hey, we should have a series called Marvel Studios Legends so everyone can remember when this stuff
No. It's
happened.
definitely Infinity War because they fight.
Oh, the elf
They
dude.
yeah.
Yes, I call him an elf. I don't know if he's an elf, but you know
I
what I
mean,
mean.
like they're like, oh, you killed him. They
Right.
sort of like they faked his death.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Totally. Yeah. I think, yeah, that one's not bad. I did actually remember there was a scene where Wanda, I can't remember if this is Infinity War, if this is Endgame. It's Endgame where she's just like destroying the crap out of Thanos because she's like super, super powerful. She basically makes all the mutants disappear in the comics, if you're unaware of that.
Yep. Enough. That's it. One word.
Yep. She's like kicking the crap out of Thanos until they bombard from his ship bombards the planet. Like she's like ripping him apart with her hexes. I don't know what they're called in the MCU world, but she casts basically spells. Which actually still not sure if MCU did they ever go into MCU about WandaVision? Because there's the end of Captain America. I'm a Captain of America. I can't remember which Captain America, where they're both in jail. Her and her brother are in those jails where the people have the Infinity Stone. And they kind of like it's an after credit scene. And I don't know if they ever talk about did the Infinity Stone create them or were they mutants? Or is it fuzzy anyhow? Because in the comics, they're always like kind of mutant. Well, not, yeah, Wanda's kind of like a mutant / magic user. So I'm curious if that could be a way to get the mutants into the MCU is actually Wanda's always been a mutant.
Well, I wonder if maybe like something with the Fantastic Four will bring the mutants into the MCU. Like the gamma burst that sort of like makes the Fantastic Four also makes the mutants. Like it's like a solar event or something.
There's a cosmic force, but that's okay. Yeah, I think that'd be too. I think it has to be like birthed. Because otherwise it gets too close to be the Inhumans, and no one wants to talk about the Inhumans in MCU. TV series I didn't even watch. Because the Inhumans is basically you have a gene in you, but it only gets activated when a mist, the Terrigen mist covers you, right? And so if it's like, oh, the mutants didn't exist until a cosmic event happened, that's like, it removes some of the interesting things about X-Men and mutants in general. Actually, in fact, I've been reading New Mutants by Grant Morrison, which I highly recommend anyone who hasn't read it, because just so everyone knows my background here, I really don't like the X-Men comic book, like fundamentally, but because I don't fundamentally like team-based comic books. I like solo books more. Mm-hmm. But someone was talking about New Mutants, new X-Men, because Hickman came out with the rebirth of the X-Men recently, and I read those because I was like, well, let's see what's happening, and it was fine, whatever.
You're referring to the House of X, Powers of X series?
Yeah. And I thought they were fine. Nothing bad. Is it Kirkman or Hickman? Hickman.
It's Hickman.
He's a pretty good writer. I like most of his stuff, but it didn't like grasp me, right? But
and Hickman's claim to fame was Fantastic Four prior to X-Men, correct?
Well, like he also has a lot of other things, but that's his Marvel claim to fame. Grant Morrison's New Mutants and how epic it was and how it changed the fabrics of mutants in the MCU. And I was like, you know what? I should probably just read this. I got the omnibus. And it blows the water out of Hickman stuff.
The omnibus?
Omnibus is a collection of like a whole series, and it's like,
the way you said it was almost like it was like a bus.
Like, oh yeah, I probably do say it wrong. Basically, in the story, I haven't got the whole way through, but why it's kind of interesting is the New Mutants are still mutating. So like they're becoming even more extreme, like not extreme, not as extreme, but like Beast is becoming more of a beast, right? But he's not losing his mind. Jean Grey's getting more powerful. Everyone's getting more powerful. And like that's when they also deal with what about mutants that don't look sexy. So even at the beginning of the book, they have this part where it's like, yeah, I'm one of those mutants that doesn't look sexy in skin tight outfit, because it's like, well, what about these people that have like 3 faces or have like acid for skin, right? Where they can't interact with humans anyhow. And it's kind of like taking that into consideration. I haven't got through the whole story yet, but this is also where, so I'm really going to wake a tangent to explain this book, but Magneto created Genesia, which was like an island for mutants for peacefully live and won't interact with the outside world. It's their own thing. New Mutants, the first issue, basically does mutant genocide and destroys all of Genesia and kills 15 million mutants, right? and changes the face of mutants in MCU. But also at the same time, you find out that Professor X had a twin in the womb that he thought he killed, but she's come back and basically is the cause of all this stuff. So it gets really weird.
Do you think that the end? Okay, so what if the end of the WandaVision like storyline is the creation of mutants? Somehow?
I was about to say, what if the person that's controlling Wanda, because she thinks she's stuck in this world, is Professor X and using his mind control stuff? Because he realized she's a mutant, and he feels that she's out of control because of her loss of vision, or maybe he's being used by the government or something. Man, really going off the side here is one. If Professor X was in let's go to our predictions of this. But if Professor X was in the show, who would you get to play him? It's a very iconic role that has like specific people, but it's hard to say. Would you go young with hair? Would you go old? Like he's been around, but if you go old, like do you lose the whole, World War II?
I think they should go House of X, Power of X, where he's wearing that helmet all the time. Anyways, it doesn't matter.
I do like that look, to tell the truth. I think the helmet by Cerebro. Or Cerebro.
Oh, it's like that's right. It's like portable Cerebro, right?
Yeah.
It's like Cerebro Mobile. It's got like apps and stuff.
You have to download them, but sometimes they warn you that, hey, we want access to your GPS. And you're like, what? Why? You're just a video game.
But it's like the opposite, because Professor X, like downloading this app will give you access to everyone else's location. Like,
yeah, it's basically a backwards iPhone. We can talk about more of this in our prediction section. The other news in MCU world, just so we can move on, is She-Hulk. Kevin Feige was like, hey, just so you know, the series is going to be a half-hour-long legal comedy, which is something Marvel Studios has never done before. Well, obviously, they've never done a half-hour-long legal comedy. How would they? So what do you think about a half-hour-long legal comedy of She-Hulk?
I don't know what to expect. In my head, I'm thinking Ally McBeal for some reason.
Is Ally McBeal a lawyer?
Yeah.
All the thing I know about Ally McBeal, wasn't that the dancing baby that blew people's minds that people could do 3D stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's all I know about Ally McBeal. Did you ever watch Ally McBeal?
Not really. I just watched for some reason, the only thing I actually remember about Ally McBeal were the episodes where Robert Downey Jr. was in it, because that was like they had to write him out because I think he had like issues at the time.
Yeah.
And I just remember that storyline being nice, but that's my only real recollection of the show. I never really watched it.
We're gonna put that in that on the poster for Ally McBeal. I remember that storyline being nice.
Ringing endorsement.
Yeah, I actually have no idea either. I mean, She-Hulk is a lawyer, for those that don't know, and she's always hulked out. But I feel like a legal Oh wait, it's gonna be Night Court. 100% Night Court, and She-Hulk is just gonna be one of the defendants at Night Court. I'm sold, 100% in. So,
I don't want to do this story. That's why I'm pausing.
So we've spoken many times about this wonderful world called Spider-Man, who became part of the MCU, had his own two little movies outside the MCU, but kind of still tangled with the MCU. The second one was really just an Iron Man movie with the Spider-Man covering on it. The third one, apparently, people kept on claiming it's going to be Into the Spider-Verse and combining all the Spider-Man over Sony's history of two good movies and the rest okay movies. And I was like, nah, it's not going to happen. But apparently there's claims that William Dafoe and Thomas Hayden Church are reappearing in the Spider-Man 3 movie. William Dafoe being Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin, and Thomas Hayden Church coming back as Flint Marko, the Sandman. So apparently this is true that Spider-Man 3 is going to try to do live action Into the Spider-Verse where multiple Spider-Mans and dimensions happen.
Wait, are they bringing Toby back?
Yeah, I've already seen rumors that Toby's already signed in. Signed on.
God, no. Just
Same with and Garfield.
Just end these things. Move on. Do new things.
Hey, wait, you sound like me about Star Wars that like week ago when I said do new things. You're like, no, Luke's cool.
Also, when Tobey Maguire destroys James Franco's face, why does James Franco then go and, like, help him fight the Sandman? And then all of a sudden, how come the Sandman is just like everybody's just, like, cool at the end? It's like, "I forgive you," and then, like, it's like, "Okay."
Because it's a superhero movie. Really, all right. The third Spider-Man is really bad, and you know what happened according to Sam Raimi, and all of
Also,
them.
Sam Raimi said he didn't like the ending, but he directed it.
Well, if you actually listen to him, he basically says Sony forced. He didn't want Venom in it. I think he only wanted like Sandman and
Did he not
maybe
want Venom or he didn't want Venmo? Which one was it?
Venmo. No, he didn't want. He actually only wanted one bad guy, but Sony has kept on pushing bad guys because they wanted that Venom to have his own spinoff, and you got Sandman was already in there because I think that's who he really wanted, and then they forced the Green Goblin back into it also. So it was a lot of studio interference on that one because
Yeah.
and like I really feel this is kind of going that way also, where it's like, hey, that cool cartoon Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Everyone loved the idea of all these different Spider-Mans. Why don't we do the same thing with our old series and bring all those people into the Spider-Verse? And, why don't we just have tons of characters and put 40 bad guys in it? Did they even say anything about bad guys yet? Spider-Man 3? I'm not even aware of that. Like, it just seems like, is Morbius going to show up too? Because that's a movie I even forgot about till like this moment. And it just seems like they're just trying to crowd it in people. It almost reminds me of like, I mean, this is odd, but Sony doesn't need to do this, but like old, like Transformers, the movie in the 80s where they said, we need to kill off all the Transformers and introduce 500 new Transformers because we want new toys. It's like, why do we need all these people in this movie? It's like, is it a fanfic? But I'm against it personally. Like I agree with you. Just move on. Those roles are dead. I really did like the first two Raimi Spider-Man a lot. So I mean, just let them sit there as something for me to watch and not be polluted.
So I'm gonna say I didn't actually like I didn't like any of the original trilogy. I didn't like the Garfield movies.
I
I
didn't like
only
the
really
Garfield.
liked the Marvel ones.
I think we actually
That's
talked about the Garfield ones once, and it was in a episode that's been lost in the history vaults.
Oh, that's right.
But where the ending of it, I'm like, finally get this out there. The only thing I liked about Spider-Man 2, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Garfield as Spider-Man.
That was episode 27, right?
Yeah, I think it was. Is where the younger female people next to me who were really into the love story between Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and Gwen Stacy, and they're like every time they're on the screen, they got this like really doe-eye look to them, and I was sitting there going, "This movie's so bad." And then in my head, though, I was like, "Oh, I can't wait till Gwen Stacy's neck breaks," and then it broke, and those people just cried, and it made my day. It also makes me feel like I'm a really mean person. I think me and you were talking about Mandalorian season 2, how we loved the fact that Luke Skywalker showed up because we really can't just have any Star Wars stories that don't involve the Skywalkers. So when he showed up at the end, it was really cool. And then when they, after credit Bubba Fett, the book of Bubba Fett, we kind of were debating, is this going to be the new series or is this going to be this season 2 of The Mandalorian? Because Tim Lee's a Mandalorian. Well, it came out that it is going to be its own series. The book of Boba Fett will be its own separate series for Mandalorian season 3. So yeah, still makes us wonder what Mandalorian season 3 is going to be now that Dooku's gone. Is it just going to be Mandalorian flying around doing bounties? Who knows? Or becoming the leader of the Mandalorians because he's a black saber. And what's the Boba Fett series actually going to be about? No one knows that yet. So how do you feel? You excited about more Boba Fett? The worst bounty hunter in the galaxy?
I don't know anymore. Mandalorian's like okay, like nothing. I just think they need to go back to Old Republic.
The video game? Or the time period?
I think that era is super interesting. I just think that they need to like just take a break from the whole like the timeline that basically starts with New Hope to Rise of Skywalker.
So get off.
See, I even yawned just thinking about it.
You get rid of the Skywalker trilogy, long trilogy.
The tri trilogy. Yeah, I think that they need to like move out of that.
Know what I would like? and this has no basis on anything that actually exists and knowledge of anything that actually ever happened in the Star Wars universe. How did the Old Republic become in power? Maybe that was in that video game. I don't know, but that would be kind of the Knights of the Old Republic. That would be kind of interesting story to learn. Is like, how did this republic get built in the first place? Like, what, like the founding of Rome? What was the founding of the Old Republic? Like, were the Jedi always just a monk cult that you weren't allowed to reproduce in?
Yeah, don't know.
But the good news is, if Boba Fett series doesn't get you excited, the Cassian Andor TV series is still happening also. For those who don't remember, he's the sniper from Rogue One. Actually, I really like this character in Rogue One. He's the guy at the very beginning of that movie, stabbed the dude in the back after he turned away. And I was like, oh, that's not normal to see in a hero figure. So the actor who plays him, who I really can't remember his name right now, said that they started filming and it really, really feels like they're basically making another Rogue One. Like they're doing movie quality work, and everything that the feel of Rogue One is going to be this, which I'm assuming he means like a more, feet on the ground, grittier, no Force user type story, which would be great because that means no Skywalkers. Plus, it's prior to the Skywalker world other than Darth Vader. I was actually kind of excited when they announced this one back in the day, and then I totally forgot about it because I actually liked Rogue One, so, which is odd. Even the Darth Vader scene, other than the fact that if Darth Vader would have been fighting these people to get the plans of the Death Star and saw them go onto Princess Leia's ship, and then, in The New Hope, captures the ship and says, "Do you have the plans?" And she's like, "No, I don't have them." And like, obviously, you just watch the dude give it to them. Anyhow, other than that, I liked Rogue One, and that might be more exciting to me than Boba Fett. I mean, I really don't care about Boba Fett.
I think the only thing that would get me excited is a Han Solo, like I said, series. I think that's the only thing that would get me excited at this point. Knights of the Old Republic era.
You're excited about Obi-Wan Kenobi, the third worst Jedi in the world.
Why is he the third worst Jedi?
I don't know.
And who are the other two that are worse than him?
Qui-Gon?
Why is Qui-Gon bad?
Because of the whole, I'm gonna train this guy even though he's too old to be trained, and I'm gonna make
that was ill-advised. I agree. I think Qui-Gon's heart was in the right place, but I think there were some other issues.
I'm gonna brainwash my underling that if I die, he needs to follow through with that training, even though he's not trained to train. Trained to train? It's not skilled enough to train somebody. No, I just made that joke about Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm fine with Obi-Wan Kenobi. I mean, I don't know anything other than what I saw in the prequels, which was through sleepy eyes because I had to watch political debates till the scenes that he was in.
And clearly, Luke is the greatest Jedi of all, as we saw in the last episode of The Mandalorian.
Like, even in that episode where they show him walking through, it's obvious he could not defeat Darth Vader.
Well, so also, yes. Luke started his training way after Anakin, and wasn't Anakin like too old?
Yes. Well, Yoda even says that. He remember Yoda's like, I think he's too old. Like, we can't do he mentions that when they start the training.
But like Luke ends up being the greatest Jedi of all, and he didn't start training until he was like 30 or something.
Did he? Best of my knowledge, he's being a grumpy old man that lives on an island out in some planet that only an R2-D2 droid that sits around dormant for X amount of years has a pathway to. Just saying, is Luke Jedi really the greatest ever? What did Luke ever do? He killed nobody. All right, I guess he destroyed the Death Star. So he did kill.
I think like Luke's story is like it's like
a hero's journey.
It's like the books after the original trilogy, where like Luke's like repute grows, and he's supposed to be like he becomes the greatest Jedi. I don't think it's actually like anywhere else. I think you can argue that if you take the original trilogies, the tri-trilogy, Obi-Wan is likely the greatest Jedi ever.
Well, I would still say Darth Vader is the greatest Jedi ever.
He's not a Jedi.
But what is a Jedi? I still don't understand it. Is that just? I swear they
never will.
Aren't they just a sect that gives them label as a Jedi? Because I could be a Force user that's really skilled lightsaber and not be a Jedi. Because I didn't.
Kind of the way. What's his name was Finn.
Yes.
I have a news story in here. It's not really a news story, but it's something I stumbled across when I was on the internet searching for videos. It was a short science fiction movie called Avaria, and the movie's in Turkish.
Oh, it's in Turkish.
Yeah, it's in Turkish, and it's basically a man that is going through space, and I guess Earth is either inhabitable or barely habitable, and he has to go through all of the, he has to go through all these alternatives, and the robot companion that he has won't let him disembark because no planet meets the standards.
Yeah.
And even though some of them are very close to Earth and things like that, and it really just like sort of like goes into the whole like Isaac Asimov's three laws. A robot can't let a human come to harm, but what is harm? And even when he's trying to opt in, he's like, just let me go down to this planet. The robot says, no, I can't let you do that. I can't let you come to harm.
Right.
And I don't want to spoil it for people, but for 20 minutes, it's really entertaining. And then if you watch the whole thing, the ending is actually pretty interesting too. Can't say enough good things. Check it out. It's called Avaria, Avarya.
Is it on some streaming technologies that
It's
I
just
have?
on YouTube.
Okay. So what are you going to say it was on Quibi?
Oh, what is Quibi? We might as well talk about that. So Avaria, go out, watch it. Now, do you have any thoughts on Quibi real quick before we check out? Hot takes?
What do you mean? I wish I could get $15 billion in investors to make a platform that streams videos.
Don't you understand, Case, that most startups, a lot of startups, are just the transfer of wealth from venture capitalists to key individuals?
Well, the funny part is the one key individual in this case was like an insider of what everyone wants in the theater in movies and blah 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 blah. He like started a bunch of like MGM. I can't remember. Anyhow, he's supposed to be in the know, and no one wants fucking cell phone movies at 15 minutes at a time. Or they could, if they did want that, they just use YouTube.
So I did watch the Liam Hemsworth series, Most Dangerous Game.
Yes.
And it was fine, but everything else on the platform was trash.
Even the Golden Arm. The only reason I was, it was Sam Raimi produced. I think it was produced. Maybe directed. I can't remember if it was produced, but it was like 50 States of Fear or something like that. And it was a story from each state of the United States, like a horror flick, 15-minute like horror from every state. I think they only got through 14 states, but one of them was called The Golden Arm. I believe is what, I don't know if that's the real title, but it's the story of like almost like Midas's Touch, where the lady loses an arm during a tree cutting accident, and the husband eventually makes her a golden arm, but it kind of like is giving her poison because it's poisoning her, but she doesn't want to get rid of it because it's like, that's my arm. And then she becomes a zombie and kills him. But spoilers a little bit. That was the only thing that interests me because I kind of like Sam Raimi stuff.
Does the platform even exist anymore?
No, it's gone.
God, that was quick.
But I mean, I think from what I understand is it's weird because you could almost look at these as pilots of ideas that people can now shop around to like Netflix and to Apple and stuff. It's like, oh, hey, because they had a bunch of content created. Now they can shop this stuff around.
It's like they were like demo reels.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you want to pay me for make it? Because what are you gonna do? It's a 15-minute episode. I mean, the hardest part is you have to make it so you can support both landscape and horizontal holding people and have different.
Oh yeah, that was the thing with Quibi. Did it not support? It didn't support horizontal.
No, it supported both. That was a big thing. They supported both. What they didn't support is they blocked any way to take screen capturing or sharing stuff over Twitter. Or over any social media. So you couldn't be like, oh, check out this show. Or check out this scene. And so you couldn't get the hype built via, word of mouth.
Are you saying that social media is critical to like market things in this day and age, Case?
Sadly, yes. It is. How else do people find things? I don't know. Advertisement.
Yeah.
But Quibi failed because they thought that people would want to watch TV on their phones that wasn't self-generated information, like TikTok, for example, also exists. And this is like, and I mean, all right, I'll give them one benefit of the doubt. One benefit of the doubt. They also launched a mobile-first streaming service during a pandemic where you weren't traveling anymore. Like there was no way to not watch this on a mobile device. Oh, you couldn't screencast either. So you couldn't even like cast it from your phone to a larger screen. So if you were going to watch Quibi, you're going to be sitting on your couch with a freaking 60-inch TV right there and have to watch on a little tiny cell phone. So they might have also just been poorly launched at the wrong time.
Prediction?
Are we skipping predictions? I can cut this out.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Let's do that.
All right. So you said we're going to try to do some predictions about the MCU in 2021, and you kind of caught me off guard. So I'm gonna make a wild conjecture because I don't even know what movies are coming out. Do you know what movies are coming out? No one knows what movies are coming out because no one knows anything because, yay, viruses. So we have WandaVision, which we kind of already predicted. I guess the only thing we don't know is what's keeping Wanda under control. Is it her? Is it somebody else? In my prediction there, crazy prediction was Professor X. Or, no, that would be stupid. What if they introduced Reed Richards as the genius that created a device that controlled, like that kept her in jail? Like maybe she was arrested for something. Wasn't she in trouble for something? I can remember. I don't know. This Vision died. But maybe he's the one that created it, and that introduces this super smart individual that then leaves the planet. But then it makes him evil, kind of, doesn't it?
Or what could be interesting isn't Scarlet Witch like the only counterbalance to the Phoenix?
I think there's something about that. I don't actually. Again, as I mentioned earlier,
like they're both level 5 mutants. So like, I think maybe they have to keep Wanda safe. So they put her in like an alternate reality because there's like an X-Men storyline starting with the Phoenix.
I don't want the Phoenix.
I don't know. I guess because Stark is gone, you don't get the Phoenix Buster armor anymore. But that kind of sucks.
I'm just tired of that story.
Sure, you could build it.
Like we've heard that story so many times. I'm just tired of it now. I'd rather have Onslaught. We did talk about how wouldn't it be interesting if Fantastic Four were actually in Wakanda, and like that's like they basically like crash land there or something. Like I talk about time travel where they.
But what about crash land? What their origins are just in Wakanda? Like
that's what I'm saying. Maybe he's just somehow.
It's like Wakanda now. Like post Black Panther starts a space program.
Right.
They're all Wakanda.
Yeah, they could be Wakandans. Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, internet would probably burn, but I mean, I'm cool with that. Like that's why they're smart.
I'm cool with that too.
I think I'm actually more cool with that the more it sits in my brain right now. I think that would be dope if Wakanda sent a family, air quoted family, to space to study something and they became the Fantastic Four. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, maybe totally. Maybe then they crash land in like the U.S. and interact with like other people.
Yeah,
right?
Why not? Well, remember, I mean, the Wakandans are kind of interacting with everyone now after Endgame, right?
Yeah, I think that's like a valid entry point.
I'd be game for that. Or if you want to go the more negative side of this, Wakandans knew about the mutants and were keeping them under wrap.
So like they were hiding them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. What I also think would be interesting is, you know how they talked about like potentially Denzel Washington being Magneto?
I did not know that. I would rather.
Wouldn't that be super interesting to like have like, maybe I don't know. I just think there's so much you could do that would like shift. You'd bring a lot more diversity to the MCU. Like there's a lot of things that can happen. So if like, could you imagine like a Magneto that's like created in like a Wakanda storyline? Like he's got the magnetic powers. Like
I would
like he resents the Wakandans for like not helping.
Yeah, but I would rather have him be from like Somalia, right? And be
sure, he can be Somalia, but like he can also just like know that the Wakandans existed and know that they didn't help, right? When there were like a lot of problems.
Well, the reason I'm saying Somalia is he could be on the side of the side that gets genocide, right?
I think you're thinking.
Is that Somalia?
I'm not super familiar. I think you're thinking of Rwanda.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of Rwanda. Anyhow, which I don't know the political structures that well in Africa, in the different states of Africa, obviously.
Sure.
But whatever. I
But
know there's been a few. There's a lot of dictatorships there, and a lot of bad things happening there. And I think one of the fundamental things about Magneto, at least, and this comes again from someone who's just reading stuff because he's old, is the whole Holocaust background, right? Because the one thing about Magneto, he's not like just an evil character, right? He actually solely believes that he is doing something good. And if he didn't have that background, I think he would actually work with Charles. In fact, in the House of X, he is actually working on the good, like working for good, right?
yeah, it's true.
So it's kind of like I worry that if you take, well, I mean, they're writers, right? They can write whatever the hell they want, so I shouldn't have to worry about that. But that tied to that background would be nice if they could somehow move it to a different area that maybe I don't even know. Like I said, I don't know the history of that area very well. Maybe there's something similar that will actually also open my eyes to the horrible stuff that happens that I don't even know about.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's a lot of ways to go with it. I just think it would be so good. Like there would just be like I would love to see like like I would just like to just see like a shifting of the MCU to be like more global somehow. And by global, I don't mean like America and like Europe. I mean
No, totally, yeah.
like I'd like to see more of like you know, call it Wakanda, call it Africa, like it just right now. Like I guess maybe the mutants could do that.
Yeah, I think
Because I mean, look, like you could see Storm coming out of that
totally.
story, maybe. Although it'd be kind of interesting to think of like Storm as like, what if Storm didn't come from Africa? She came from somewhere else, right?
Well, it could be anywhere that's not America, right? What happens? Storms from Chile.
Yeah.
Somewhere that's. I think I would even like Professor X to be from somewhere that's not like what if Professor X is like Russian? Just because I don't know why that would be interesting to me. Or even like
Can you imagine Professor X and like Vanko's dad were buddies?
Yeah. Yeah. So, or yeah, because he could be part of the privileged class in Russia, right? And so he doesn't know about the bad things that happen in Russia. I just like that'd be kind of interesting if that would like something like that. I would love to make it more of a global story than a US based story. And I still think the Fantastic Four thing is a great idea. I would have no problem if Magneto was part of something in I mean I say Africa, but it could be anywhere, right? Any non Anglo-Saxon type country would be cool.
It's just I just think there's just so many ways you could go with it. And like I don't know. I just feel like we've seen the X-Men done so many ways now that I just want something different. Like same with Fantastic Four. I've seen like, a bunch. I've seen Rise of Silver Surfer. I've seen all this garbage, right?
You've seen all these
We've
great
had
movies,
cartoon.
and you don't want them to be polluted by these new movies.
I just want something else.
No, I think it'd be cool too. Even if it's like a mix in the Fantastic Four, like I mean, they're all brother and sister, but still don't have to be.
Well, actually, that's one thing I liked about the other Fantastic Four movie was that
Yeah.
like they were brother and sister. They were different races. Nobody
Right.
really. There's no explanation offered in the movie whatsoever, and I thought that was perfectly fine.
Right. Yeah. Totally. No. I would love.
And by the way, the internet lost their minds about that too.
I know this. I would. I fundamentally, I think the Fantastic Four being from Wakanda would be awesome, but also I'd love to see what the internet does if that was announced. It'd blow up.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that there's just like, I just think I don't know. I just feel like there's so much
cooler. There's this bring in so much cultural differences. I think that'd be cool. Not differences, but like introduce the different cultures to the MCU would be dope. There's just like so much there, right? There's so many juicy stories. Like what happens if Magneto, when he's a kid, was someone who was trying to cross the Mexican border and got put into an internment camp? That might be too much political there.
I think there can be some political in the MCU.
I just meant for our show, maybe too. I don't know. But I'm saying something like that, or like, even during, I mean, this is World War II, so it'd be too long ago, but, we put Japanese people in internment camps in the United States. Or, I don't know if I want an Irish Magneto, but what about like when the Magneto was part of Bloody Sunday? I think there'd be something there. But let's switch, since we're kind of this shooting the air with that, back to Spider-Man, because you mentioned something before with the interverse, Spider-Man, Sony, Venom. What do you think about Venom coming to MCU?
I don't know anymore.
Oh, we also have the Internals. I keep on forgetting about the Internals. We have a freaking movie about gods coming. So all this might be thrown out the window whenever that movie actually comes and goes. Like, you have Internals with fucking gods. If we do have Fantastic Four, you have to have Galactus, and Galactus could actually be a freaking huge person instead of a cloud like they used to make him. So maybe don't even have Doctor Doom right away. You have these more, because again, if you want to get like, if you want to do the Endgame thing where you have a big battle with a bunch of all the heroes, you're going to need something bigger than just Doctor Doom. So you need something like Galactus, or you need something that's interstellar.
Do you think that Galactus would be interesting?
A big, huge guy in purple tights that eats our Earth?
I don't know. I just didn't find like in Silver Surfer, it came out to be like uninteresting, right?
Because he's
So
a fucking cloud. So in the original Galactus storyline, he actually interacts with the Fantastic Four, talks to the Fantastic Four, and you realize that he is this entity of power that is almost unstoppable, right? And he just hungers, and it's not his fault. Like he's actually like this person that's like, it's really not. I mean, because it's his fault because he eats the planet, but it's something that he just like has to do. But he's a god too, so it's all about tricking him into leaving almost, and like causing him fear versus just punching him a lot. So I think that's why it could be cool, right? It's like, how do you defeat something that's impossible to defeat? You have to be smart and use your intelligence to also defeat them.
Yeah.
Because even like Thanos, it was like, it wasn't a trick. Thanos was just like, punch him harder, right? And then snap your fingers. There was no like intelligence to that win. So if Fantastic Four is involved and you have Mr. Fantastic and he had to think of a really interesting way or send, what happens? I think the Human Torch gets sent through time and space to get the null device. And then they use the null device to frighten Galactus. But like that whole thing is like this epic there's no way you can punch this guy and win. You have to figure something else out. And he's just there in New York City, slowly destroying the world. Then oddly enough, whenever they win, he just disappears and it looks like nothing happened. And then the Fantastic Four get blamed for faking the whole thing.
With all of that, we gave you some bonus content today.
Sure.
If people have opinions, how can they reach us, Case?
Well, they can email us at podcast@nolifekings.com, where I will reply to every email sent. Maybe read some on air. And then also you can tweet us at NLK_podcast. Or send us wonderful photos on Instagram at @NoLifeKings.
And
cheers. Yeah, so there's Jedi, right? There's Sith, which we know, right? There's Inquisitors, the dark side assassins. So the Inquisitors learn how to use the dark side, but they don't learn the true tenets of the Sith. So like, they can still fight for the Sith, but not be a Sith. There's some really odd things. Basically, like, you're a Sith with anything but name. There's the Knights of Ren. So apparently, Knights of Ren also have Force users. I don't know if you see that in the movies. There's the Ones. There's this mysterious Force wielders from the planet of Mortis. They're called the Ones. They're even Force gods. And that's the main aspect. So they embody there's three of them.